Welcome to Ground Up Growth. I'm Hannah Pittman, founder of Pittman Marketing, alongside my co-host Paul Hopper, principal broker of Hopper Real Estate Leaders. Together, we sit down with entrepreneurs and business leaders to share insights, strategies, and lessons to help you build success from the ground up.
Welcome back to Ground Up Growth. Today, our episode is sponsored by Service Specialist and Environment Masters. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Our guest today is Miss Jill Ford. Miss Jill Ford is with the House of Representatives. She lives here in Madison County. Thank you so much, Miss Jill, for coming on.
Absolutely.
She's also Patton and Crockett's mom, who Patton has been
Most
on the
importantly.
absolutely biggest role. So Patton has been on the podcast before. He had an awesome story.
Mm-hmm.
Ford plumbing, heating, air, gas, electrical, all the things. So, Miss Jill, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Honored to be here.
So tell us a little bit about, I'm so sorry, Hannah Pittman, co-host.
Hey,
I'm trying to remember all these things to say.
they'll hear me at some point and be like,
Exactly.
oh, someone else is in there.
Tell us a little bit about where you're from, a little background story on who Miss Jill Ford is.
Okay. I grew up in Corinth, Mississippi, the very northeast corner of the state, very close to the Shiloh National Battlefield. For those that are in Tennessee and Alabama, we kind of share that. And grew up with 4 brothers and no sisters, and in a house full of manly men. I tell people all the time that in the House of Representatives, there's 6 men to 1 woman. That's the ratio. And so God created me for this job
Right.
from the very beginning. There's 122 House members and only 18 women. And
Really?
so,
Really?
so I pretty much
What'd your parents do?
well, interesting that you ask. My dad worked for Senator Eastland in Washington, and so we saw him on the weekends. And I hated politics because of that, which is so interesting that now I'm in it. And my mom stayed at home and raised the 5 of us basically by herself. Of course, we saw him, but not as much as I wish we could have. And then went off to school, went to Northeast Community College. This is something that nobody really, I don't think I've shared this often, but I twirled. That was my thing in school, is I twirled. And so I was feature twirler at Northeast, and then went to State. And then after that, I went to work for Butler Snow.
What'd you graduate in at Mississippi State?
I did not graduate Mississippi State. I had a medical issue, and so I went from the year that I was there, and then I went to work at Butler Snow, and I never went back. I was going to go back, but it was in October, and thought, Daddy said, let's go down, get you a job until January. But then I loved it. And it was I had a paralegal degree, and so I used the paralegal degree at Butler Snow. For 5 years, worked there, and that's where I met my husband, Mike, on the elevator at Butler Snow.
Did he have an elevator pitch?
He just said, hey, you want to go to dinner? No, you want to go have drinks. And I said, well, I don't drink, but I will eat. And he said, okay, let's go eat. So, and then...
Let me stop you right there. Did you have a job in high school? Because I've heard you be very passionate about the younger generation, like they need to have a job. And I couldn't agree more with you on that. Did you have a job?
I did not have a job. I wanted a job, but my daddy was very protective of me, and he did not require us to have a job. Let me say this. It's Mike Ford that was as passionate about our boys having a job. Then once they got the job, I was passionate about them staying employed, because I saw how important it was for them to be tired when they would come home and go to bed and go to sleep. And, so I was not necessarily for him when he said, Patton needs to go find a job at 11 years old, but was after he started with a couple of different yards to mow, and then he started keeping score at the baseball fields, and then he was over the umpires at the baseball field. That blows our mind when we really think about it. He's like 13 years old, and he has all these people calling him to ask when they're supposed to work next, and we're like, this is crazy. Now we look back and think it's crazy. Then we were just like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you're staying busy, your mind's not occupied with, or it's not idle, which,
Yeah.
we don't want that for
No.
a teenager. But no, I didn't have a job. And my first real job was at Butler Snow, and was there, like I said, for 5 years. And then and then Mike and I met. And then after we only dated 9 months, I knew what I wanted because I had 4 brothers, and I knew what I didn't want. And so, I immediately fell in love with him, and it's still in love with him. And then we had Patton about 5 years into marriage, 4 or 5 years into marriage, we had Patton, and I stayed home for a year. And then after that, I went back to work at Crossway Turney, which was with Don Clark. So I know you had him on here, and worked there, and then got my real estate license. After I had my paralegal degree, I had all the courses I needed to become a
Right.
realtor. And so started selling real estate, had Crockett. I think
Where'd you start selling real estate? I got to know this stuff.
17 years with Nick's Tan.
Really?
I was with Nick's Tan for 17 years, and then I went out on my own.
Awesome. I like Walker Tan and Miss Becky.
Yeah,
They're
it was, they taught me everything that I know about real estate. And then I know I'm probably jumping into the job of being a house member a little soon, but the whole reason I ran for House was because of our real estate in Madison County. The 3 most important things about real estate is location, location, location. And Madison County is the perfect location because of our law enforcement, our public schools, and our infrastructure. And those are 3 things that I can fight for at the State House. And I knew how important it was to keep our property values high. I don't know if you remember, January will be my 8th session, my 8th year, starting my 8th year. And it was around that time, 8 years ago, where there was so much unrest with our police in the nation, in the country. We saw a lot of unrest and people demanding, our police lighten up and not,
Right.
and we're on them constantly. And that was really my passion, is to protect our police. And then and then the second part of our real estate values is our public schools. We didn't choose to send our children to public schools. We chose to send them to St. Andrews. But the public schools in Madison County is the reason why your property values are as high as they are.
Right.
And that was important to me to protect our public schools.
Right.
So, and
No,
there,
I hear that all the time. I mean,
It's that-
it's the
you can go
the
to
starter of
Jackson.
everything. It's,
yeah, you can go to
hey,
Jackson.
is this, what school district is this in? That's, I agree 100% there. Interesting. Hannah, you look like you got something on
Where
your mind.
did you, so your 4 brothers, like, where did you fall in the mix?
I was number 4. I have a younger brother. So I had 3 older brothers and a younger brother.
Okay.
And they're total, I want to say a dirty word, badasses. They're, Wrangler boot, jeans, and Wrangler jeans, boot, cowboy boots, belt buckles, always a rodeo belt buckle, chewing, spitting, smoking. I don't know. There were 2 of them's like 6'6".
Get them on the
Jeez.
podcast.
Golly.
My brother Reggie, and he's passed away 3 years ago, but he had a huge following because he has something called chuck wagon races, and he has a whole following of chuck wagon races. And so my younger brother, Trent, when after Reggie died, Trent has started that back. And so he just had the second Reggie Little Outlaw Chuck Wagon race. And
wow.
Mike and I went to Corinth to participate, just to watch it. I did not ride on a chuck wagon. Those things were dangerous. But it's an incredible, you feel like you're in the Wild Wild West back in the 1800s. It's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, my brothers are nobody. I've never met anybody else like my brothers. Like, mean as a striped snake, but yet love me to death.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to explain it. They just would do anything for me. So I've told
so
people before
sweet.
they would kill, but people need to be careful when they get onto me because my brothers will kill for me. So
They will
I'm
kill you.
just saying that.
Just telling you.
I'm just, I'm,
Here's
just,
your
I'm,
heads
just I'm
up.
trying to be nice to you right now. This is wisdom talking. Be cautious when you're coming after me because I have some crazy brothers.
Yeah.
Speaking of coming after you, that's something that I really wanted to tap into because being in the public eye like you are, and in a world of social media and just people spewing hate and all that, you by default are dealing with criticism. You got to. People saying you're doing a bad job or that you're in it for this or you're in it for that. And just, I'm very interested to know what's your posture and how do you deal with that? Because I just think about myself in real estate, and especially as I've moved into real estate development, I'm constantly having headwinds of people not wanting me to do what I'm doing, saying I'm doing it for the money, saying, just like all these false narratives, and they're constantly just peppering you. And as a people pleaser myself, like, I do struggle with that. I struggle because I don't want anybody mad at me, but in the same breath, I'm doing the very best that I can with no bad intentions. And I know that's where your heart is in your position. Do you have some insight for me on how to deal with that?
Well, bow up or bow out, because that was what Mayor Mary told me when I called her and was whining to her one time about somebody having hurt my feelings. And she said, either bow up or bow out. And it really affected me. I really felt like, can you imagine being the longest serving Republican woman mayor in the United States of America? She's been in office for almost 45 years, if not longer. She's been through some stuff.
Right, yeah.
And her words were weighted for me. And so people, I think just the world we live in with social media, people are the keyboard warriors. They want to have, people are so critical this day and time too. And I think that their critical spirit, oftentimes when they have negative things to say, if you'll just bypass it and let it go and not respond, then a lot of times other people will come and comment and say the right thing for you, and they'll take up for you. My husband's protective of me. He's not on social media, so I oftentimes don't tell him that I have people that don't like me. I know that's crazy, but I have 25,000 bosses, 25,000 constituents. And even if people didn't vote for me and they're not in the same party that I'm in, I still represent them at the State House.
Right.
And if they have an issue, I still want to help them with their issue. And so it's not easy, but you just have to be mindful that if you're in God's will and you're doing what you feel like He's called you to do, He's going to take care of the naysayers. He always does. And it's always, I love it when he allows me in just a glimpse of how He takes care of them. It gives me a little satisfaction. I'm just saying. But I try to do my best to remind myself I have a family of faith that's watching me, and I have my own family that when somebody says something negative to me, my response can backfire on them.
Right.
And especially when when Patton owns Ford Plumbing and Gas, I even feel like I can't drive fast because somebody's going to notice that, I'm doing everything wrong. And people are very critical. It's just human nature to be critical. I just don't want to give them a reason to be. So I do my best to stay in my lane, be kind to everyone, even if I don't feel like
They deserve it.
yeah, they deserve it, or that I have the same opinion as them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, that's really good insight. And
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, as hard as it is to just bite your tongue, to your point, if you mess up and fumble and knee jerk react and say the wrong thing, then it's going to just tenfold.
it is.
And the people that are the keyboard warriors that are doing that, they don't really have much to lose. So it's like, just let them go. That's a good point. Yeah. I
Yeah,
like that.
I can get heated now. Having
Right, there's
with my
also a
four
line
brothers
there.
taught me one thing, and that is take up for yourself. And I never want people to think that I'm just laying down and letting people
Yeah.
run over me. That's not who I am. But oftentimes I'll just go to the Lord in prayer and just ask Him, "Can you take care of this issue
Before I have to.
before I lose my mind on somebody?" Yeah.
Right.
Because I can. And when I called to ask her, I was expecting a little sympathy, but she did not give me any sympathy. She gave me some of the strongest words.
Yeah.
And now that's what I try to live by. So
That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially with what you said. I mean, that advice holds so much weight, that given what else she's been through. And one thing I think you do really well is, like, you don't. So one thing people could do is if you know people are watching your page, like ready to give their own opinions or fight with you about something, you could just like never post and just don't give them a reason to like say anything. But you do still share, and that's important, I think, for House representatives to do, so we can really understand. Because I asked you at one point, we were talking, because one thing you said was just know the people that you're voting for, know what they believe and what they stand by. And I was like, how do you really know what they believe? Because like we see them on a ballot, but you really have to do your research to figure out, like, and not just how they vote, like what do they believe, what's their background. And you do a good job of sharing that.
thank you. Yes, I am very open. I'm pretty transparent. I do try, I want my social media to be a little bit of everything because that's what I am. I'm a little bit of everything. I am Mike Ford's wife, first and foremost. I'm Patton and Crockett's mom. I'm Elizabeth and Lena's mother-in-law, which is a very important role for me. I want so badly to make sure that I honor that role for my girls. And then I am the grandmother of 8 grandbabies that my children gave me. And I also serve 25,000 people. So I have a lot of different hats that I wear.
Yeah.
But by serving them, I want them to see that I'm as real as I can be. Mike and I, our favorite thing to do, we don't play tennis, we don't play golf, we go out and eat. That's our hobby, is to go out, and I try to make it funny by saying my sport is supporting local businesses. So, but I want people to know me well enough on my social media that they can come to me in a restaurant and say, "Hey, we're friends on social media." I love that more than
Right.
anything. I love it when somebody recognizes me and says, "Oh, I loved your post about so-and-so."
I want to stop here and tell you about our sponsors for today's episode, Service Specialists and Environment Masters. Maybe you're hiring and you need the right person, not just the next resume in the stack. Or maybe you're the one quietly wondering if there's a career that better aligns with your future. Either way, Service Specialist starts the same. They take the time to know you. Mississippi's oldest recruiting firm, connecting talent and employers since 1967, because the right fit comes from relationships, not job boards. Find them at servicespecialistltd.com. This episode is also sponsored by Environment Masters. When your AC quits in the middle of a Mississippi summer, you don't want a voicemail. You want a real person who shows up on time and does the job right. Environment Masters has been keeping local homes cool, dry, and running since 1957. 3 generations, honest opinions, no upselling. Just HVAC, plumbing, and electrical done the way it should be. Learn more at environmentmasters.com. And thank you both for sponsoring this episode.
Because I do try to be real on my post. I want people to know my heart. For instance, this past week, I saw this girl parking in handicap parking. That flew
that.
all over me.
It gets in my craw.
It's my 8 Enneagram. I'm a number 8. And the thing that I love to do most is fight for somebody. Like, I like fighting for somebody. I don't want to fight with them, but I'll fight for you all day long if you have a cause that's worth fighting for. And I work with a man at the Capitol that's paralyzed from his waist down, and he uses arm crutches to walk in the Capitol every single day. And I cannot imagine, he doesn't use a wheelchair, he uses his arm crutches and he pulls himself along. It's that's the person that God puts in my mind when I see somebody, a 25-year-old, backing up into a handicapped parking spot, backing up so you can't see their tag. And so I was a keyboard warrior this week when I was like, you know what burns me up more than anything is somebody parking a handicapped parking spot. So I did ask the police department to go to Walmart and Kroger and start writing some tickets. Let's start putting our money where our mouth is. We can raise a lot of money for Madison if we'll just camp out those 2 places, and let's get us let's make people understand. If you're coming to Madison County, you can park in the right spot.
That's right.
So,
I couldn't agree more. I mean, don't get me started on that. I mean, that's lazy. That's lack of morals and respect. There's no excuse.
Decency.
I don't care what kind of time crunch you're in.
Yeah.
And there are people that
Don't
need
get me
it
fired up today.
that we can't see their issues like arthritis or whatever.
Right.
I'm not talking about them. If they have a placard and they have a tag, by all means, i am not
100%.
judging you, but I'm judging the 25-year-old that backed in without the tag or the placard and popped in.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you just set me off, honey. So anyway.
So take us back a little bit. How did you get from real estate to serving in the house?
Well,
What was your worst real estate deal?
what was my worst real estate
You
deal?
remember that by chance? You got anyone that like sticks out? It's like,
Ooh, it would
Man,
involve a realtor, and so I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to down anybody that's in that business. It's a hard business. Being a realtor was hard. Now
talk up real estate for us a little bit.
Yeah.
Let these people know that it's just
It
not
is.
going to the bank and
Oh,
rolling the window down. And
it is so glamorous, and oftentimes people think it's so glamorous. It is not an easy business. You are always working on nights and weekends. It was good business for me as a mother because I could pick my kids up from school, or there were so many perks about it. But then there's so oftentimes it is it's not gratifying. Oftentimes you're not thanked enough. You're like, by the time you get to the closing table, sometimes your clients don't want to see you again and you don't want to see them again.
Right.
Or sometimes the other side, you'll pledge you'll never do another business deal with that realtor. It is not an easy
everybody's
job.
wore out by the end.
And it looks like you get a huge commission, but then by the time you pay your taxes and you try to set some aside, you've already spent it. Oftentimes
Right,
you've already spent it by the time you get it. So no, it's a great job. Do not want to sound like if somebody's
Right.
interested in getting in the
There's pros
business.
and cons.
There's
to
pros
it,
and
for
cons.
sure.
Yeah.
The being able to structure your schedule to fill those other hat roles you're talking about, being a mom, being a grandmother, like that's invaluable to me.
Yeah.
That you're not glued to a 8 to 5 or whatever. Like if you want to go pick the kids up, or you think you can shuffle stuff around.
Oftentimes, though, that people are working during the day. They need to see the house at night. And so I wasn't always at home when Mike and the boys were home. And then on weekends, you know, I would show up for an inning of baseball and then have to go back and show something else. So, but it was still, you know, I put my license on inactive when Amazon came into town because I never wanted anybody to think that I would ever sell any property and benefit from a position that I might hold at the Capitol. So I said, it's not worth it to me. My integrity is more important than any amount of money. And so I put it on hold. But if I ever, you know, I always have it. I can always reactivate it if I need it. But yeah, I don't necessarily miss it. I'm just saying. I don't know. I think I would rather have the job I have than the real estate. But it was 30,
well, the thing is,
years.
and I tell people this all the time, like, yes, I mean, your job is selling real estate, but 90% of a real estate transaction is problem solving. And the other 10% is being Dr. Phil. I mean, it's an emotional, it's to your point, every deal, you're going to find the buyers where their emotional line is. You're going to find where the sellers, because everybody wants to get the best deal they can. And in order to get to the closing table, everybody has to feel like they won. So you've got to create an environment. And the only way to find that is by finding where the line is. And that's where people get, well, they've already asked for this and they want this. And, you know, and it's just, you're just juggling it.
It sounds exhausting to me. Like, I really commend realtors like it. And the more I feel like I've learned about it, I'm like, bless y'all.
But the beauty of it is when you do it for so long, like we've done it, like, I also know your emotion. This is a crazy thing. I know how you're going to react through the whole deal. Especially if you're an engineer. I got you pegged. Like, just the way they handle it. Like, they play hardball, and I'm like, I know they want it. He'll be right back. He's not going anywhere. And then when you don't react the way that they want you to react, they just have to show their cards. So, anyway.
I know engineers, that was so funny. I always felt like, okay, they're going to be the ones going in the attic. They
never look at the house.
I always
they look
felt
at
like
the drainage.
Yes, they always go in the attic. They look at the drainage, but the pretties they could care less.
Yeah, they weren't.
It's so funny.
It is.
I did love it though. Is a great profession and very thankful for it. But what's my next question?
Hannah, what you got?
How you got from real estate into the house?
Oh, I never answered that question.
I pulled you off in the real estate trenches.
I figured that happened.
This is kind of a little bit of a rabbit chaser, which I'm really good at chasing rabbits. But I'm just going to go tell you how I got from here to here. In 2015, Mayor Mary asked me to run for supervisor. And I ran for supervisor against a 16-year incumbent. So I pretty much knew that I wasn't going to win, but you know, I
bow up or bow out.
Yeah, I always like a good challenge, and so I said, okay, I'll consider that, and so I did, and I lost by 37 votes, and went to the House. I wasn't going to fight it because I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person that can't let something go and admit defeat. I could totally admit defeat. And so I went to the House, and for several months, I had read the book Circle Maker when I was running by Mark Batterson, and how important it is to pray a line around the territory that you're claiming. If it's your children, you get in their bedroom and you pray over their bedroom and you speak scripture out loud. And so I walked my district. It was 37 miles. I walked it in 7 days, my dog and I. And so it was interesting to me on the night of the election when the lady came out and said that I had lost by 37 votes. I'm like, that's a God's signature. At the end of my day, I'm going home.
Yeah.
And so right after I lost, that book was still fresh on my mind. And so I started feeling like the Lord was calling me to pray over the state of Mississippi. I had prayed over my district by walking the line. And so I said, okay, let's do it. And so for the September 2015 to September 2016, I went to all 82 counties. I created something called Inherit Movement. In her, inside every mother, we want to leave our children a better future than what we had. And so I wanted to make sure that my children's generational inheritance, their spiritual inheritance, I had prayed over in the spiritual realm. And so asked my lady friends, hey, y'all, let's start this prayer group and let's go across the state of Mississippi. And so that's what we did. It's coming up on 10 years. And so we're doing a little video clip about that soon. But we took all denominations and all ages and stages of ladies, and we got on a Trailways bus, and weekend after weekend, we would go to different counties, sometimes 3 and 4 at a time, and we would meet either at a church or the courthouse steps or city park, wherever. Sometimes we had planned where to meet, and then sometimes we just ended up and stood in an area of that town, in that county seat. And so it took us a year. And then after that, about a year later or so, I was doing something called the Gatherings, which I had started. I love women. I had 2 sons, grew up with 4 boys. I just never had a chance to be around women growing up, but I love women. And so I decided to have women in my house. And so I started the whole flower classes and calligraphy classes and things like that for over maybe a year and a half. And that was just because I enjoyed having someone come in and do it. I didn't teach the classes. I asked somebody to come and teach the classes. I just had them in my house. And then after that, Corey Wilson was appointed a judge, and somebody called me and said, I just heard that Corey Wilson, which is the member that was at District 73 before me, and do you live in his district? And I said, I think I do. And I looked at it, and the lady said, well, I really think that's what you need to do. And I said, wow, I'm not sure I'm qualified for that. And she said, there's really not a lot of qualifications, believe it or not. You have your own legal staff at the Capitol. You just have to serve your people. And you've already, won the hearts of the people because you didn't fight against. And I'd already kind of set my name out there when I ran for supervisor. So every time the Lord tells you no, he's usually got a yes ahead of you. And that was my yes ahead of me. And so Mike got home that afternoon, and I said, what do you think about me running? And he goes, that's exactly what you're going to do. Oh, that's the job I'd rather you have and not the supervisor. I never thought that was someplace that you would have enjoyed, but I think you'll enjoy this job, and I think you'll do good at it. And I always have to have his blessing on everything. His blessing is more important to me than anything else. And so he encouraged me to do it, and I announced the next day, and ended up winning by 70% of the vote. There's all these 7s and 3s, like District 73 lost by 37 votes. It was all these 7s and 3s were all over it. And God's perfect number is 7, and 3 is the number of his Trinity. And I just kept seeing his fingerprints over everything. And so I ran and won and have had the time of my life. Love this job. Loved serving the people. I really do. I love helping the people. Like I said, number 8 Enneagram is to fight for others, and that's what I do. I love fighting for other people. So
sounds like that's a perfect role for you.
I love it. I do. Some people ask me all the time, what are you going to run for next? And I'm like, I'm not running for anything else. If the people want me to stay in this job, I'll stay in this job. But if they want to send me home, they get the opportunity to do that next year. So next year you can send me home if you want to. So
That is an incredible story. That is awesome.
I love
thanks.
hearing how God just paved the way for that. And when the right door opened up, it was y'all had peace, you and Mike both. Like, yeah, this is what.
Yeah.
That does
to
make it
do.
all. It makes it easier to just lean in on his will. Like
Yeah.
if you kind of put it in his court and like, hey, you just shut the door if you need to shut the door, and then like you said, running for the supervisor. If you lose, like just own it. And turns out it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
he was
huge.
honestly think he was just preparing me and getting my name out there, and then also proving, sifting me and showing me that not everybody's going to be for you. It's okay to lose. It's okay to don't be offended. I think we live in an offended world, and
Yes.
he has just taught me so much about not being offended. You cannot be in this job if you're easily offended.
Yeah.
Let me say that. You cannot be a politician if you are easily offended, because
that
you
doesn't
are
work.
going to have somebody's going to do something or say something every day that will keep you, your stomach in a knot. And I refuse to allow that to happen to me.
That's great.
I don't want to carry that spirit of offense. So.
Right. Awesome.
I
Well,
think this was great hearing how your background, how you got to where you are. In this next episode, I mean, this is a pretty neat job. You get to do a lot of cool stuff. And it's stuff that I don't think the general public knows a ton about, like the stuff you get to do. So in this next episode, I want to dive into your passions, things that are going on right now, your day to day, what session looks like, and just kind of hear more about what it's like to be Jill Ford, House Representative of District 73.
All right.
Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
thank you, Jill.
Thank you.